As a photographer, it is imperative to get your work seen. It used to be in the format of a local magazine or a self-published book. Today, we have amazing online tools that allow us to have our work seen by thousands of people. Let me show you how I created my website with Squarespace. Okay, so thank you for coming along and watching this video. Thank you for coming back to my YouTube channel. If you don't know who I am, my name is Sam Holt and I'm a photographer and videographer based in London, and I specialise in street photography, automotive photography and brand content creation for social media. I thought I'd do an update video, seeing as my last Squarespace video was nearly a year ago, so I'm going to run you through my thought process behind why I have my website a certain way, what designs I'm using, what templates I'm using, give you some sort of psychological input into how you should try and format your website. So this is going to be quite a long and in-depth video, so if you want to go grab a cup of coffee, cup of water, go ahead, pause the video and come back. I've got two tabs open at the moment. I've got the Squarespace website editor and I've got my normal website open as well, so I can just jump between the two and show you what influences what. If I change something, it will show on the other website. But basically I just want to have the editor so I can show you like behind the scenes and the back end of editing a website, and then my final website which is published and live. So if you actually want to have that open as I'm doing this video and you can check my website, go ahead and do that. That will probably be quite helpful for you to see how it's progressing. So I believe my last video that I made about a Squarespace website got nearly 3,500 views, and I got a lot of questions on it. I got a lot of DMs on Instagram. And most of the questions revolved around what template I was using. I've actually changed the template, and I did this for a few reasons, mainly because of the design layout, and I really wanted a different gallery space to display my images. And also I'm always constantly evolving my website. I'm always changing things. I'm always keeping things fresh and up to date, and I think it's really important to sort of move with the times and move with what you're feeling at that moment in time, just to keep your work fresh, keep the way you present yourself fresh. And I'm just going to show you what I use basically. So we're going to go into the design tab over here, and you can see all of these little design headings here. So we're going to go into template, and this is the template that I'm currently using, Avenue. I think they might have updated the template since I last did this video, because I seem to remember telling somebody that I was using Avenue a couple of years ago, and it does say installed 2 years ago, but you can see how far back it goes, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and you can see that, as close as 4 months ago I was trying out templates. So you do go back and forth between templates. Squarespace makes it super easy to do so. I'm going to make a whole new video on me completely redoing my website, because that is something that I want to work on. And so if you have any questions regarding that, then drop them in the comments below, send me a DM, and I'll be sure to answer those when I can. But for now, I'm sticking with the Avenue website, and you can see that it's live. And the reason that I went with Avenue is purely because of this grid layout. And I think this looks really smart, and I like the way, if I go over to my actual website, and I like the way that you can hover over them. It gives a little overlay. It's just a nice little interaction for somebody. It sort of makes it seem a little bit more thought out. It seems that you've put some ideas into the interaction of how somebody's going to use your website, and I really like this system. I think it's clean, I think it works well, and the grid layout is really nice. The spacing between all the places, all the boxes is really nice. And you can set it to do grids of 4 or 3. I've got it at 3 at the moment. I just think that looks really smart. So when you launch Squarespace, this is what you're presented with. You're presented with your website on the right and your tabs on the left. And this is really handy because it sort of keeps everything clean. Or the layout is really, really simple. I'm going to go into pages and just show you what pages I've got. So that key phrase, keep it simple, stupid, really, really works when it comes to making a website. You don't want to have all these conflicting like galleries and blogs and all these things that could really throw somebody off your website. You want to keep it as simple as possible without sort of not showing what you're good at, basically. So it's a fine line between showing your work and not making it messy. So I do this in one of two ways. So I have all of my galleries like this, and I think this looks really good. I've mentioned that before. This is a really clean layout to have on your home screen. And you can see that my work is linked as my home screen. You can see that little house logo there. And if I open this up, you can see I've got galleries inside this. So this is an index tab. So you can go to plus and you can add an index, or you can add a gallery, album, all of these things that you can add. You could build pages from scratch, but I really enjoy using just their builders for you. It just keeps things simple. It doesn't consume a bunch of your time. So the index feature works really well, and then you can put galleries inside that. So the way that Squarespace works this out is that you put the gallery inside an index, and the design of that template will format it in such a way that you can then edit it and present it like this. So I've got a few galleries in here. I've got my mainly photo galleries, and then in here in the Street Journals one, it's almost like a video gallery, but I'll get to that in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Lydden Hill Classic Car Race. This was an event I went to earlier in the year, last year actually, we're in 2020 now, and as you can see, this is just a simple photo gallery. There's a lot of photos in here, and I really like this because it allows me to present my photos, but if I had all these photos on my homepage, it would look really messy. So that's where this comes in. I can have just this almost like a subtitle within my website, then I can open it up, and then it's presented with all of the images. The one thing I don't like about this website is this. It doesn't display portrait images in one go. You do sometimes have to scroll through them. So if anybody knows a solution to that, then please drop it in the comments below, because I'd love to know how to do that. I know you can set up grid systems and things, but it doesn't really work for what I want it to do. So this is basically just all it is. It's really clean and simple. It allows you to scroll down, look at the images, and these are like hand-picked images. So these are the best images that I took that day, and that's what you want to keep in mind when you're making your website. You don't want to have it cluttered with as much stuff as possible. You want to curate it. If you were making a book, you would do the same. If you were putting on a gallery, you would always curate your images. So you want to have the best of the best on here. So I'll keep flicking between these two tabs just so you get a flavor of what it looks like when you've published the website. So if you get a bit confusing, I apologize for that, but it sort of helps me visualize back end and then the front end of how you build a Squarespace website. So if you go into the settings tab, this is the best way to sort of preview everything that's going on with your website. So you have your page title, you have your navigation title, which is what appears here. So if I go back to work, this is your navigation title. So because it's in an index, it needs a title. And then obviously I would just name it the same as your page title. This up here is your page title, and then you can add all of this stuff on here. It's so good, Squarespace. You can enable pages, you can disable pages. So if you don't want it to be published on your website, but you still want to edit it, you can do that. You can add a password protector. So if you, for instance, are a wedding photographer and you want to have your images on display on your website and you're self-publishing your images, then you can do that. You can add a password to it and then give that password to the client, and then only the client can view those images, which is a really nice way. There are other image hosting websites like Shootproof and things like that, but if you want to keep it simple, then this is probably the way for you. So if I just scroll down, you can see that I've got a page description, and this is what shows up on the side here. I think this is really important because it gives a bit of context to your images. It also gives you a platform to give some information to whoever is viewing your images. I also like to utilize it as a way to tell a bit of a story about the images. It's a nice way to sort of link them up. That way they're not just standalone photos, somebody's got a bit of context, and I think this just looks really smart. I would definitely recommend you put that on your galleries. You also have over here SEO, and SEO is search engine optimization, and the way this works is if you add an SEO description to a page, Google will sort of turn that into keywords, and then whoever is searching online, let's say you put in London photographer, classic car, it's somewhere in your description, then that will turn it into keywords, and then somebody will be able to search that up. And the better your SEO, the higher chance you have of somebody coming across your website. I haven't been able to wrap my head around SEO yet, so I know that might sound a little bit contradictory to talk about it on this, but I would definitely recommend doing your SEO on your website, just because it enables you to get more of your work seen by more people. I'm really working on it at the moment. I want to get it as perfect as possible. And obviously when you're changing pages around and constantly updating your website, you have to update your SEO as well. I at the moment haven't had enough time to do this, so I'm really dedicating some space in the coming weeks to nail down my SEO. I just wanted to give you some guidance on that as well, because I think that you've got to nail it for it to work. And if you work hard, you get good results. So I haven't got SEO on my website at the moment, but that is something that I'm definitely working on. So if you go over to social image, you'll see that this is basically like a preview for anything that gets shared on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. It just gives them a link and then a nice little picture. I've just set this as this image for now. I do have plans to change this image into something else, but I don't really like it at the moment, but the sort of the pastel color and me in the middle just sort of creates a nice inviting image for somebody to want to click on. It also shows my face, so it's a little bit more relatable. Somebody knows what they're going to be looking at. I would definitely recommend having this just so it's not just a link. It also sort of eradicates the possibility of an error image showing up with like the 3 dots or whatever. So I would definitely recommend putting this on there. It just looks a bit smarter. It looks like, again, you've put a bit more effort in. And here again, you have an alternate social sharing image. So I imagine you can switch between the two of what you want to be shared and what you don't want to be shared. If you go over to media, this is where you can decide what thumbnail shows up on your index page. So if we go over to here, you can see that this is the image that I've chosen to show up on this index page. And I've done this by uploading an image. You can also add images that you've already previously uploaded, which is really, really handy. It means you don't have to upload an image twice. And then I've moved this, and this is what I would consider like a focus point of the image. So this little circle, if I drag this all the way over to here and then save it, and then go back over to my website, refresh, you can see that that's now shifted. So I always do this to the focus point that I would want somebody to see in the image. So I really like this image here of this Morgan. So I'm going to drag that back over. And it sort of cuts a square around that like central point. So if I save that again and go back over to my website, refresh, you can see that's now back where it was. And I think that's a really handy tool to have. Again, it just adds that little bit of, you've put a bit of effort in. You've put something, somebody might not have thought of that. It's better than just having it try and automatically find a nice point in the image. It just puts the focus point in the middle of the image, which is, it works, but a lot of my images aren't always just center frame. A lot of them are like this, trying to give a bit more atmosphere, a bit more context. So I felt like dragging it over and having it smack bang on the car works really well. Otherwise, it just sort of be like the back end of the car or like some background or something. Again, it's just a nice little bit of detail, and I think, again, it's just something that you just probably want to have on your website. It looks good. And then there's this advanced tab. All pages have this advanced tab where you can do like code injection, you can manage tags and categories. I haven't currently got any categories or tags going on my website, just because I haven't found a use for them yet. But that again is something that I'm looking into because I'm constantly updating and evolving my website. So I'm just going to exit this gallery and I want to show you the Street Journals gallery, which I said was more of a video gallery. And I know that sounds a little bit weird to say, but this is a really cool thing that Squarespace has where you can inject videos into your website from an external source. So if I go to the plus, you can upload an image or a video because it's a gallery, but I'm going to go to add video. This is what's going to come up. So if you embed a URL, that's the term I was looking for, you just copy and paste it over. I copy and paste from YouTube because that's where I upload all my videos. So you can see here it's got a list of platforms you can use, so Vimeo, YouTube, Animoto, etc., etc. So here it says once you've added that link, Squarespace will attempt to locate and format this video for your site, which is really nice. This is one of the good features of Squarespace, is that it's automatic, so it will always try and do things for you, which I think is really quite a good option. It just makes life a lot simpler, means you don't have to worry about trying to format it. And I have to say, if I go back to this bit here and I go into my Street Journals, it formats it really nicely. It's just, again, very clean and simple. I'm going to go back over to, let's discard this, don't need this anymore. If I go into the settings of one of the videos I've uploaded, again, this is almost like editing your gallery page as well. So what I do is I title it, I change the title generally to Street Journals episode, whatever it is, just so that is uniform. On YouTube, the titles are slightly different because obviously I want to have a bit of a punchier title, but for my website, I want to keep it nice and clean and simple. So Street Journals episode, whatever it is, that seems to work really well for me. And again, you can just see that focus point is in the middle there. So the preview is always going to be in the middle, which is what I want for this because, and this is very important, I always add my own external thumbnail. So what Squarespace does when it takes your video from YouTube and embeds it on your website is that it also takes the thumbnail from YouTube. Now, YouTube has a maximum limit on the thumbnail size that you can upload. It's 2 megabytes, I believe. 2 megabytes. And also, once that's uploaded, it's compressed again. So you're going to end up with a really crunchy thumbnail. And when you're displaying your website on a nice big 4K screen or on a laptop, you want it to look good. So what I do is I have a folder in my assets folder of my Street Journal thumbnails. And what I'll do is I will just take that, I will take it over to Squarespace, and I'll upload it to here. That is an extra step that you have to do, but I think it's really worth the effort. It comes out looking really crisp. Otherwise, it would just be a little bit crunchy and a little bit grainy and a little bit pixelated. And also, I put a lot of effort into my thumbnails, and I definitely spend a lot of time adding like layers and black layers and opacities and things like that. So I want somebody to see a larger size of my thumbnail. Again, because it's something that I've worked on and I'm proud of them. So this is all I'll really do in the content tab. I don't really go into any of these side tabs. So as you can see here, it says successfully located. It's found the video on YouTube. It's embedded it into my website, and that's what you really need to do. I order my episodes from the most recent. It will automatically do it from the first one that you've uploaded. So it was originally 1, 2, 3, 4 in this order, so going like this. But I've just reordered it, so the latest one is always at the top. I just think that works. I would always want to watch the latest of something, especially if somebody's coming back to your website. So I'm just going to close this up, and I'm going to skip past brands, because that is essentially just another index page with just a bit more information. I do actually want to talk about this very quickly. So you can actually embed an IGTV video onto your Squarespace website, which is really cool. Oh, look, that's me. Hello. So this was an IGTV series I shot for Sean Stafford. We filmed a 10-episode IGTV documentary based around that, and I've just got that on my website because that was a big project. If you want a video on how to embed an IGTV video onto Squarespace, then again, let me know. But this is basically, I just keep my work and my brand work separate, because work is more personal projects and brand work is all of my clientele projects. But I'm going to go to blog now. And in my last video, I hadn't uploaded a blog in so long. And I've been trying to keep on top of it. You can see that I've definitely kept it updated. You can see that sort of jump from 2018 to 2019. That was January, and then that's March, so almost a year and a half later. And this basically almost accompanies my work and the images that I upload to galleries. It's just a little bit of a shorter content form. Somebody can just open them up and read a little bit about it. But generally, I'll put on my blog what I don't want to keep on my main work front and my brand work, just because of the space limitation you have on Squarespace. So you can only have 20 pages with the plan that I've got. So I've got the personal plan, which means I can only have 20 pages. So it makes sense to have a blog page, because you can then have as many blogs as you want. So this is basically how I format my blog, and I've got it open on my published website so you can see what it looks like there. I'm just going to show you what happens when you edit a post. So obviously there's just a text box that you can add your own text to. You can type out a couple of paragraphs. I just try and keep it short and simple. Generally with this stuff, I just want people to see the imagery. And then I have a gallery block underneath there. So you can use existing media from your website. And I did this with my Lydden Hill blog post. So if I go over to here, this basically just took the content from that block that was in my work, if you remember that. And then I just added it to this, and you can see it's a lot easier. You don't have to upload anything twice, and it keeps your website running a little bit smoother as well. So that's essentially what I do. But for this one, I've uploaded the media myself because it isn't present anywhere else on my website. So if I go into the design format, you can see that I've chosen a grid format. I think this works really well. It looks really clean. I've gone for a 1:1 square ratio. I think this works really well again. It just keeps everything looking just very linear, very minimal, and that's all I'm all about that. And then I've cropped images to the aspect ratio, but just fills that square. I haven't got show title below the images because nobody needs to see the file name. I'm not going to also title each image. I've chosen 3 thumbnails per row. Again, that's just a choice on my end, but I think everything comes in threes, so why not have it like that? So I also have this box called Lightbox ticked, and that means that somebody can click on the image and view it full screen. This is the only way I figured out for somebody to get around not having to scroll through the image. If you remember that from the previous block where I was talking about images displaying full size in galleries and not reformatting so they fit on the page. So this is sort of, if I demonstrate what I'm talking about here, if I click on this image, for example, this is a 5x7 image, and if I was to view this on my main website on the gallery space, I would have to sort of scroll past this top and bottom part just because of the way Squarespace formats it. But this is a really nice way of just having your images display full size. This was actually an event I shot for a brand called Sapling Spirits, who I'm working with a bit more through the production company I work with this year, and they're a really cool brand, so go check them out. They're all about sustainability and good booze as well. So it's a thumbs up from me. And like I said, Squarespace makes it really easy to format things, so you can add whatever you want in the bottom here. It's so simple to do things with Squarespace. I really enjoy the way that they build their websites and their website builders. And then you can have a comment section at the bottom. You can choose to turn comments on or off. I went through a phase of not wanting any comments, but I thought, it's all about community. It's all about trying to engage with people. So I've enabled comments on my blogs, and you can see that some have already got people commenting on them, which is cool to see. It means that somebody's engaging with you not on social media, they're engaging with you via your website, which is really cool to see. And again, if you format and present your website well, people will want to engage with you, which I think is really cool. So I will do a whole separate video on how to write a blog post on Squarespace. This is basically a brief outline on all of my pages. So if you want any in-depth knowledge on how to go around building these, then let me know. I'll get around to doing that. The one thing I do really want to talk about on here is that I only have one blog post per page, and I think this looks really good. I don't really enjoy this whole scrolling through 101 blog posts, and then you just have this sidebar at the side. And if I go into edit sidebar, I'll show you how I format this. So if I go to layout, you can see that I've chosen an anamorphic widescreen. This is basically thinner than a 16:9 crop, and it just does this. I haven't figured out a way to format it so I can adjust the focus point from, his head's cut off there, which is kind of annoying. So if anybody has a solution to that, then let me know. But I think this looks really clean. If you set it to anything like this, it sort of looks a bit weird. I think the widescreen keep things short. I want to minimize the amount of scrolling somebody has to do on my website, just to minimize the risk of them getting lost somewhere, getting lost deep in a blog post, and then it links to another blog post, etc., etc. So having just one blog post on the screen and then the sidebar works really well. It allows people to navigate through the blogs really easily. So that's just a rough outline of how I format my blog space on my website. Heading back into my pages, the final page that I want to talk about is my About page. And this is, a lot of people have varying opinions on About pages. If I show you how it looks on my website as well. I'll just keep it on the screen for now. A lot of people write their About pages in third person, which I think is a bit weird because we all know that somebody else hasn't written about you on your own website. If you're updating it, it looks a little bit pretentious. I like to just go all in, write it in first person. You want to engage with people. You don't want to sort of try and pass yourself off as some sort of celebrity that somebody's writing about. So I would definitely recommend writing in first person. Like I said, everybody knows that you've written it, so it just comes across a bit strange. And then you just want to keep it really brief. You want to be informative, engaging, but you don't want to, nobody wants to hear your life story. So what I've done here, I've just got 3 short, sharp paragraphs on about me a little bit. So I've got my photographer, videographer, and musician based in London. That's a bit of information, and what I specialize in. I work with various brands and companies, all of which I really enjoy working with. So that gives a little bit of insight into who I work with. The relationship between myself and a client is something I find extremely important and constantly strive to maintain. So that gives a bit of information on my work ethic as well. And then a little bit of a personal note saying I love creating personal work such as my street journal series. And that sort of, again, is a little bit engaging. I haven't given them my entire backstory. I haven't told them the first time I picked up a camera and the first image I remember taking and all this stuff that nobody really cares about. Your website is to do one of two things. You want to engage with people who want to view your work, and you want to engage with people who want to hire you. So I've also got an assisting paragraph at the bottom as well. So this is really important in my opinion. It just gives me a little bit of scope to engage with people who want to hire me as an assistant. I also think it's really important for people who want to hire you as a first photographer because they know that you've had experience in the industry. Assisting you can get through interacting with photographers on social media, friends, alumni from your university, just reaching out to people through like AOP website or various other platforms that you can connect with photographers. Again, that needs a whole other video, but just to keep it brief on my website, I just give you an outline of what I specialize in. So I specialize in lighting and digi-ops. I work with Capture One Pro, Photoshop, extensive knowledge of Pro Photo and Elinchrom lighting. I also work with most camera brands, and that's all I keep it to. I just want to keep it short and simple, information, engagement, and you've got something a little bit relatable in there as well. So I think that basically wraps up my tech side of it. And then your contact details. Don't bother with contact forms. I find them really annoying whenever I'm trying to contact somebody because you never really get a confirmation unless you set up your website in a way to send somebody confirmation. I think just put your email in. That gives somebody the ability to send you an email directly. Also, it gives them the opportunity to have a record of who they've emailed. And then I also have a keep updated thing at the bottom. It's just like a newsletter sign up form. You just stick in your email address, sign up. That's all I do. I don't want your name, I don't want your address, and I don't want your phone number. Just your email address will do. And then that way you'll get notified every time that I update my blog. And then you might notice at the bottom of every page I have my social media links. So I have my Instagram, my YouTube, my Twitter, and my Facebook. I need to add my LinkedIn and some other bits and bobs on there. And I'm planning on removing my Facebook and Twitter because I don't really use them, or I haven't had the patience to utilize them properly. Again, something I'm working on, something I want to keep on top of. But for now, that's what's in the bottom corner of all of my pages. That's just a little social media block. And you can also format that through the Squarespace website as well. So there you have it. That is how I create, format, and push out my Squarespace website. I hope you found this video useful. If there's anything that you want a more in-depth video on, such as like the blog or how I upload images, how I made my about section, then be sure to drop me a comment. I will try and do that as soon as I can. Hopefully you found this really helpful. It's just a brief update on what I made over a year ago. And spoiler alert, I am actually going to completely rehash my website. I want to redo it completely. So I will make a video on how I'm going to go about that, how I go about planning that, and yeah, just try and bring you along for the journey. I think it's quite daunting to go out and try and create a website from scratch, and luckily Squarespace really makes that easy. Just a disclaimer, this video is not sponsored by Squarespace at all. They haven't paid me to say this, they haven't given me any discounts. I just think their service is fantastic. Their customer service is really good. They've got incredible online help search engine. You can find the answer to most questions on there. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching this video. Be sure to check me out on social media. It's at Sam V Holt on all social media platforms. Be sure to like and subscribe this video, and for those of you who haven't come across my channel, welcome. Thank you for coming along, and I look forward to seeing you stick around to watch some more videos that I've got coming out. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you in the next video.